Hi everyone. So this is just going to be a quick video about how to find research as an undergrad. This will obviously mainly be based on my experience and just things that I learned while I was looking for research. So I did research in the same lab for my sophomore, junior, and senior years of college, and that's where I did like my senior capstone and everything, and actually did research there during a summer too. And yeah, so there's not really a reason I waited till sophomore year. I guess I just wanted to get involved with, my priority was to do volunteering, start volunteering freshman year, which I continued throughout the 4 years at the hospital. And then I guess just to do research sophomore year so that I could get in a good 3 years of that. But I think the sooner you start research, the better, I guess, whether that's freshman or sophomore year. You obviously can start it whenever, but typically the longer you can be in the lab, the more useful you're going to be and the more things you're going to be able to do. So I mean, the lab I was in the first year was a lot of just doing computer work, data analysis, helping with PhD students' work, and I continued to work with her the whole time. But you know, the longer you're in there, the more skills you learn related to the lab, and the more you can move on to your own projects. So once you learn the data analysis bit, then you can learn the experiment part. At least that's what I did. And then I started to be able to do my own experiments and analysis and the whole process myself. So that was pretty cool. I really loved being in a lab. Even though the lab I was in was it was fly research and it wasn't genetics. So it wasn't super like human medicine related, but I still really liked it. I mean, it was still biology, obviously. And I feel like all the skills I learned were so applicable to any research that it was super helpful. Like, I just had never been in a lab before to learn what it was like to, you know, be a part of a long-term project and kind of how research works. I mean, it was more complicated than I thought and less, not to say less organized, but like, you know, it's not as simple as you're just working on one project. I mean, projects change, you find different results that make you alter what you're looking at and everything like that. So it was super useful, as well as, you know, getting to do poster presentations and write papers and make figures and things like that that are all super useful. And I did a lot of MATLAB coding actually for that, which luckily I'd taken a MATLAB coding class for my major. So I knew some about that, but that was useful, and I know there's a lot of labs that use MATLAB. So anyways, to get into, that's kind of what I got from research, I guess, without going too much into the specifics. But now I'll talk about how to try and find research on your campus. So I was pretty lucky that the university I went to has a lot of different labs, both on campus and off campus. So I think all faculty, I don't remember the rule exactly from when I toured it, but it's like all faculty are required to do research or something like that, or all professors. So there's a lot of different labs in all the different departments, and obviously biology. My school was definitely more STEM focused, so there were a lot of biology labs. And then my university has 3 major hospitals right around it, so I know the hospitals all had their own research labs that would be more medical related, I guess. I didn't actually really look into those much because I found research pretty quickly on campus, but I know a lot of people who did research off campus, so that's always an option, and that's more likely to be paid, I think, but I don't know that for sure. So anyways, I had heard that you should contact a bunch of different professors or PIs of the lab, and PI is the principal investigator. That's the person who runs the lab, which I think is usually the professor. But anyways, so I heard you should contact a bunch because, you know, labs are fairly small usually in how many people they have. So, you know, they might be full. It's nothing against you if you're not accepted into a lab. Some labs have a lot of interest, and, you know, there's only so many people that can be useful in a lab. I mean, my lab, it kind of seemed like at our peak capacity for undergraduates, there was kind of one undergrad per like graduate or PhD student to help them with their research, maybe a couple extras, like, but you know, there's only so many computer stations, and there's only so many, if you're getting into your junior and senior years and you're doing your own experiments. For my lab, we used high-speed cameras. We only had so many of those, so, you know, there's only so many resources to go around and only so much work to be done, I guess, within the confines of those resources. So what I'm saying is, don't be discouraged if you don't get into the labs. There's a bunch that they say, oh, we're not taking anyone right now. That's because there's not that many spots to be filled. But with all of the different labs available, you should be able to find something, hopefully. So yeah, I was pretty lucky that my university had a lot of different options. I know depending on where you go. I mean, my school is fairly small. I mean, but that's the thing. The bigger the university, the more labs they probably have, but the more students trying to get the lab position. So it balances out. So anyways, I emailed, I think like around 10, maybe 10 to 15 different labs. And I think maybe I just did 10 at first, and I thought I could do a couple more if I didn't hear anything back from the first 10. I went on my university's biology department website and found there was a list of all the different labs and like a really brief description of more of just keywords about what the labs were researching. So I kind of picked the 10 that seemed most interesting to me. And then I learned a little more about them, and then I emailed all of the PIs asking if I could do research there. And I did this in like early August before my sophomore year, so I tried to do it. I feel like someone had told me, I mean, there's a lot of times that you could get research. At any point in the year, you could get research, but I tried to do it at the beginning of a year because I figure if seniors have graduated out of the lab, there might now be spots open starting into a new academic year. And since I wasn't going to be there over the summer, I didn't want to get a position in like May and then wait 3 months and maybe they'd forget. I've heard some people say maybe they forget that they even offered for you to come in and look at the lab. So I waited till a few weeks before classes started so that I'd be able to go in once I got to campus and, meet with people and everything. So yeah, I picked like 10 labs and I emailed all the professors. And I tried to look up a little what you should include in these emails. I mean, you want to keep it relatively short. I mean, yeah, you don't want them to read your life story or anything. But yeah, just kind of briefly like why you're interested in research and why you're interested in their lab specifically. I mean, you want to choose labs. I mean, in theory, you're going to be spending a lot of time there. So you want to choose a lab that's going to be interesting to you. And maybe it's something you don't know a lot about, but you think will be interesting. That's fine. I mean, my lab, I did not know much about it at all. And I've learned a lot, and it is pretty interesting. I guess I'm not in the lab anymore. But yeah, so just, a little bit why you want to be in their lab. If you have any research experience, maybe you can include that. I didn't have any prior experience. You can maybe include, like, attach your resume, but keep it pretty short. And yeah, I just sent out all the emails. A lot of people responded. Some people just didn't respond, which probably means they just didn't have space in their lab, or they would respond saying, sorry, we don't have any room. And, some of those, like, I know the lab that sounded most interesting to me initially, they said they were full, which, is kind of hard to hear, but that's what it is. It's nothing. It's just, if they're full, they're full. They can't really do anything about that. So, and you're an undergraduate, so especially as someone who you probably don't have much experience, you're, not to say that any undergraduate could do your job, but that's usually kind of the case. So, you can't really be picky, I guess, about what lab you're going to get, but you can definitely choose labs to look into that have some interest to you. I mean, yeah, you don't want to be stuck in a lab that's, like, for me, I'm not a big ecology person, so I wasn't going to apply to any labs that were going to be out doing field work or something like that, even though mine was animal related. But anyways, so yeah, I emailed all of the labs, and I heard back from a couple. I mean, I remember I heard back from the lab that I ended up working in saying, like, yeah, we are looking for somebody. You can come in. Let's set up a time for you to come in and, like, learn what we do. So I set that up. And then I think I did hear back from a couple others saying, like, oh, maybe we can find something for you. You can come in. But kind of by the time I heard back from those, I'd already gotten my position at the lab I was in. So I just, told them I didn't need the position anymore, and I stuck in the lab. So I did get multiple responses that could have potentially led to a position from just emailing like 10 different professors. So, yeah, I think, again, I know it depends on the university, but it was not hard. And I'd heard from people freshman year and even before I came to the university that research was pretty easy to find, which was important to me because I wanted to do research. But yeah, so that's how I found it, and I think that's the pretty typical way. I think another way is if you know a professor, like maybe you, took a class with a professor freshman year who does research that interests you. That could be a good way because you already know them a little. You could go into office hours, ask them about their research, see if they have any openings. I mean, that'd be a good way, a little bit more of a personal connection than just emailing. But if you don't know professors who do research, emailing worked fine for me. I suppose you could go in person to talk to them as well, but I know people are pretty busy, and if they just don't have space, then I also wasn't on campus when I was starting this process, so I just emailed. But yeah, I think that's basically it. I loved doing research. I mean, I really would like to do research in the future as well, as a physician, hopefully. And actually, it's an exciting thing, and it's good for medical school applications and everything. For me, that helped me. I was always conflicted about if I wanted to do medicine or research. And I guess it didn't really help me decide because I decided I kind of wanted to do both. But yeah, it's a good thing to do in undergrad. I mean, that's a great time where you can try out research without commitment, I guess. Like, when else can you do research like that? Either you're going to a graduate program to do research, and then if you decide you don't like it, you know what I'm saying. That's a good way to try out something that you might want to do in the future. So yeah, that's basically it. I will say I don't know how research is going on right now with coronavirus. Because I'm not at university anymore. I don't know what the rules are, but I would assume, I know like when I was graduating out, I wasn't allowed to go into the lab anymore as an undergrad. I would assume they're still doing that. Maybe they've eased restrictions a little bit depending on the school. But I will say that I wouldn't let that stop you. Again, maybe your university has said no research and you know that, but if they haven't said that, I wouldn't let that stop you from trying to get research during coronavirus because, like I said, in my lab, the first year, basically, I was mainly just doing computer work, and I did it in the lab, but I easily could have done it at home. So, maybe you can start out in a lab just doing data analysis at home, and kind of get your feet wet that way. So yeah, I don't know too much about how that's all working. That's just kind of my thought about that. But yeah, so that's what I have to say about research. I'd really encourage doing it if you have any interest. Let me know if you have any questions about my experience or anything like that. So hope y'all have a great day. And if you're in school right now, good luck with all the kind of difficulties of doing that. So yeah, bye.